Inside a stifling Atlanta courtroom on July 10, 2025, Judge Amos Carver bangs his gavel, siding with two smirking white cops against Nia Coleman, a composed black woman accused of assault. Sweat beads on her brow as the gallery assumes she's finished, another victim of Carver's bias. Then Nia rises, voice sharp, declaring she's a U.S. attorney. Shock ripples through the room. Carver's face contorts, and her defeat flips into uproar. This moment will haunt her forever, but how far will it spiral? Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from, and if you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe for more stories that demand truth. 3 weeks before the courtroom bombshell, Nia Coleman cruises down a desolate stretch of Highway 41 in rural Georgia, the sun dipping low over endless pines. It's July 17th, 2025, just past 8 in the evening, and the 34-year-old U.S. attorney is bone-tired after a grueling day reviewing case files in Macon, 90 miles south of her Atlanta home. Her sleek black sedan hums steadily, the air conditioning blasting against the 92-degree heat that clings to the asphalt like a damp rag. She's dressed sharp as always, a tailored grey blazer over a white blouse, navy skirt hugging her frame, her short curls pinned neatly back. Nia's deep brown eyes flick to the rearview mirror every few minutes, a habit born from years of navigating spaces where she's the only black face in the room. The cicadas scream in the thick woods flanking the road, their buzz a jagged pulse, against the soft jazz spilling from her speakers. She's halfway through Ella Fitzgerald's Summertime when red and blue lights flare behind her, slicing through the dusk. Her stomach tightens, but she keeps her breathing steady, signaling right and easing onto the gravel shoulder, dust swirling around her tires. She cuts the music, rolls down her window and waits, hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, palms slick with a faint sheen of sweat. Two white cops step out of a battered cruiser, their silhouettes looming against the fading light. Officer Dale Pruitt, tall and lanky with a patchy mustache drooping over thin lips, adjusts his belt as he strides forward, his boots crunching gravel. Officer Hank Grayson follows, heavier set, his ruddy face glistening, uniform stretched tight, across a barrel chest. Both carry the swagger of men who've never been told no, their pale skin stark against the dark green of the pines. Pruitt raps his knuckles on her window frame, leaning in too close, his breath sour with stale coffee. "License, registration, insurance," he snaps, voice clipped, eyes narrowing as they rake over her. Nia nods, polite but firm, reaching for her glove box with deliberate slowness, keeping her left hand visible. "Good evening, officers. May I ask why I was stopped?" she says, her tone even, professional, the way she's trained herself to speak in moments like this. Pruitt's lips curl into a sneer, and he waves her question off like it's a fly buzzing too close. "You swerved back there, girl. Almost hit us," he says, the word girl landing like a slap, dripping with contempt. Grayson chuckles, a low rumble, leaning against the car to peer inside, his meaty fingers tapping the roof. Nia's jaw tightens, but she hands over her documents, her Georgia driver's license crisp, her federal ID tucked beneath it, unmentioned for now. She knows she didn't swerve, knows her speedometer never ticked above 55 in the 60 zone, but she also knows arguing here now could turn this into something uglier. Pruitt scans her license, squinting at her name, then tosses it to Grayson, who snorts. "Nia Coleman, huh? Fancy car for these parts," Grayson mutters, his voice thick with suspicion, as if her presence alone is a crime. Pruitt steps back, folding his arms. "Step out. We're searching the vehicle." Nia's pulse spikes, her legal mind racing. "On what grounds?" she asks, voice steady despite the heat creeping up her neck. "Probable cause," Pruitt barks, though his eyes flicker, betraying the lie. Grayson cracks his knuckles, looming closer. "You gonna make this hard or what?" Nia inhales sharply, weighing her options. She knows her Fourth Amendment rights like scripture, knows they've got no basis for this, but she also knows the stories, the videos, the names etched into protests. She opens the door, steps out onto the gravel, her heels sinking slightly, hands raised to shoulder height. The humid air presses against her skin, thick and suffocating, as Pruitt shoves past, her yanking open her back door. Grayson starts rifling through the front, tossing her leather briefcase onto the ground, legal briefs spilling out, pages fluttering in the faint breeze. "Careful with those," Nia says, unable to stop herself, and Pruitt spins around, glaring. "So you telling me how to do my job?" he snaps, kicking the briefcase aside, the zipper splitting open. Grayson pulls out a water bottle, uncaps it, and pours it over her files, smirking as the ink blurs. "Oops," he says, voice mocking. And they both laugh, a harsh guttural sound that echoes off the trees. Nia's fists clench at her sides, nails digging into her palms, but she keeps her face blank, her breathing shallow. They tear through her trunk next, flipping up the spare tire, scattering her gym bag, a pair of sneakers tumbling out. After 10 minutes of chaos, Pruitt slams the trunk shut empty-handed, his face twisted with frustration. "Nothing," he mutters to Grayson, who shrugs, wiping sweat from his brow. "Write her up anyway," Grayson says, and Pruitt scribbles a ticket for reckless driving, shoving it into her hand with enough force to crinkle the paper. "Watch yourself out here," Pruitt says, leaning close, his mustache brushing her ear as he whispers, "We don't like your kind causing trouble." Nia takes the ticket, her fingers steady despite the rage boiling in her chest, her eyes locked on his until he steps back. Grayson spits into the dirt near her feet, a wet splat that glistens in the cruiser's headlights, and they saunter back to their car, chuckling like they've won some game she didn't know she was playing. She stands there alone, as their taillights vanish into the twilight, the cicadas roaring louder now, a deafening wall of sound. Her sedan sits violated, papers strewn across the gravel, water pooling under her ruined files. She kneels, gathering what she can, her blazer streaked with dust, her knees scraping the rough ground. The ticket in her pocket feels like a live wire, buzzing with the lie she knows she didn't commit. She slides back into the driver's seat, hands trembling as she grips the wheel, her reflection in the windshield a mask of calm, hiding the storm inside. She'd been cautious, followed every rule, kept her speed in check, her mirrors clear, yet here she is, humiliated, targeted, her dignity shredded on a back road for no reason but the color of her skin. Her mind spins, legal strategies already forming, a complaint to internal affairs taking shape. She starts the engine, the hum of faint comfort, and pulls back onto the highway, the pines blurring past as she heads for Atlanta, 90 miles north. She tells herself she's dodged the worst of it, that she's still in control, still the sharp-edged attorney who's faced down worse in courtrooms. The search was illegal, the ticket baseless, and she's got the training to fight it. She doesn't know yet that Pruitt and Grayson aren't done, that back at their precinct they're typing up a report, their fingers smudged with ink as they weave a new lie, that she swung at them, fists flying, a wild black woman resisting their lawful stop. They grin as they file it, confident no one will question two white cops over her, certain she'll crumple under the weight of their word. Nia drives on, the night swallowing her headlights, unaware of the trap snapping shut behind her, the first domino in a chain that'll drag her through hell. She thinks she's escaped with a bruised ego and a soggy briefcase, but the officer's laughter lingers in the air, a promise of worse to come, a vow that this stop was just the spark to a fire she can't yet see. Nia Coleman pulls into her downtown Atlanta apartment garage just past 10 at night on July 17th, 2025, the engine of her black sedan ticking as it cools. Her hands still shake from the stop on Highway 41, her blazer crumpled with dust, her legal files soggy and smeared in the passenger seat. She climbs the stairs to her 7th-floor unit, a modern one-bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city's glittering skyline. The air inside smells faintly of lavender from a diffuser she left on, a stark contrast to the sour stench of Officer Pruitt's breath lingering in her memory. She kicks off her heels, the hardwood cool against her aching feet, and collapses. Onto her grey suede couch, the ticket for reckless driving crumpled in her fist. Her mind churns, replaying the cops' sneers the way they called her girl, the casual brutality of tossing her life onto the gravel. She's 34, a U.S. attorney with the Department of Justice, yet out there, she was just another black woman to harass. She grabs her laptop, the screen's glow casting sharp shadows across her face, and starts typing a complaint for internal affairs, her fingers flying over the keys. She details the illegal search, the lack of probable cause, the water poured on her briefs, her words precise, cutting, a lawyer's weapon honed over years. She's halfway through when exhaustion pulls her under, and she drifts off, laptop still warm on her thighs, the city humming beyond her windows. 2 days later, on July 19th, she's jolted awake at 3 a.m. by a thunderous pounding on her door, the sound rattling the walls like a drumbeat of doom. She stumbles up, heart slamming against her ribs, and peers through the peephole. Officers Dale Pruitt and Hank Grayson stand there, their uniforms crisp, grins wide and predatory, a third cop holding a clipboard with a warrant dangling from it. Her stomach drops, a cold sweat prickling her skin as she swings the door open, barefoot in her silk pajamas, her curls a wild halo. "Nia Coleman," Pruitt says, voice dripping with mock formality. "You're under arrest for assaulting an officer. Felony charge." Grayson steps forward, snapping cuffs around her wrists, the metal biting into her flesh as he yanks her arms back. "Should have kept your hands to yourself out there," he mutters, his breath hot on her neck, reeking of tobacco. Nia's mind reels, her voice steady despite the chaos. "I never touched you. This is a lie." Pruitt laughs, a sharp bark, shoving her toward the hall. "Tell it to the judge, sweetheart." Neighbors peek out, curtains twitching, as the cops march her down the stairs, her bare feet slapping concrete, their boots echoing like war drums. Outside, a crowd gathers, phones flashing, capturing her in cuffs, her dignity stripped raw under the streetlights. At the precinct, a squat brick building 10 miles south of her apartment, they shove her into a holding room, the air thick with sweat and bleach. Pruitt leans against the wall, arms folded, while Grayson paces, cracking his knuckles. "No one's gonna believe a black chick over us," Grayson says, his ruddy face splitting into a grin, teeth yellowed from years of chew. "You're done." They mock her as the booking begins, fingerprints smudging ink onto her hands, the cameras flash searing her eyes for a mugshot. Her cheeks burn, but she keeps her chin high, her lawyer's brain already dissecting their moves. Assaulting an officer, a felony, could mean years if it sticks, could torch her career, her life. She's processed in a blur, the desk sergeant, a wiry black man with tired eyes, glancing at her with something like pity. He whispers as he hands her a phone. "One call, quick." She dials Malik Turner, her DOJ colleague, her voice low, urgent. "Malik, it's Nia. I've been arrested. Assault charge. It's fabricated. Get me out." He's groggy but sharpens. "Fast. I'm on it. Sit tight." She hangs up, hope flickering, thinking Malik's pull might spring her soon. The cops drag her to a cell, the door clanging shut, the sound a gunshot in her ears. She sits on a metal bench, wrists raw, the cold seeping through her thin pajamas, the concrete floor gritty under her feet. She replays the stop, searching for a misstep but finds none. She'd complied, stayed calm, yet here she is, caged like a criminal. Hours crawl by, the precinct buzzing with late-night chaos, drunks yelling, phones ringing. She thinks of her complaint, wonders if it triggered this, if they saw her name in the system and struck back. Then Pruitt saunters by, tossing a file through the bars, pages fluttering to the floor. She snatches it, scans the report, her blood icing over. They've added resisting arrest, claiming she flailed, cursed, fought them off on the highway. It's a bold-faced lie, piling on the felony, a second charge to bury her deeper. Her hope. From Malik's call dims, the weight of their retaliation crashing down. She grips the bars, knuckles whitening, her breath shallow, fury blazing through her veins. She'd thought the ticket was the end, a petty jab she could swat away with a few keystrokes. But this is war. They've twisted her compliance into violence, banking on their badges, their whiteness, to crush her. She paces the cell, 3 steps one way, 3 back, her mind racing. She's a federal attorney, damn it. Not some helpless mark, but right now she's just a number in a system rigged to grind her down. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting harsh shadows, her reflection in the scratched steel wall. Ghost of the woman she was 2 days ago. She'd walked into her apartment shaken but whole, ready to fight from her desk, not from a cage. Now, Every second ticks like a bomb. Her career, her freedom, her life teetering on the edge. Pruitt and Grayson think they've won, their laughter echoing down the hall as they clock out, leaving her to rot. She sits again, knees drawn up, the warrant's weight sinking in. Malik's her lifeline, but how long can he pull strings against a precinct hell-bent on breaking her? She'd underestimated them, thought their racism was lazy, sloppy, something she could outmaneuver with law and logic. She was wrong. This is calculated, vicious, a noose tightening with every lie they stack. She closes her eyes, the precinct's hum fading, her resolve hardening. She'll fight, she always has. But the battle's just begun and it's uglier than she ever imagined. Want to weigh in on this outrage? Drop a number 1 in the comments if you think Nia's being railroaded by a system that protects its own hit-like to stand with her, and subscribe for the next twist in her fight. Can you believe they'd frame her this hard just for being black and breathing? What's their next move to keep her down? How deep does this corruption run? And will Nia's DOJ ties pull her out before it's too late? Morning breaks over Atlanta on July 20th, 2025. The sky a bruised grey as Nia Coleman is led from her cell, wrists still raw from cuffs, her silk pajamas swapped for an orange jumpsuit that hangs loose on her frame. She'd spent the night pacing, the precinct's damp air clinging to her skin, the false charges, assault and resisting arrest, looping in her mind like a broken record. Her bare feet slap the tiled floor as 2 guards escort her to a transport van, the metal bench inside ice cold against her thighs. She's driven 10 miles north to the Fulton County Courthouse, a looming concrete slab downtown, its halls already buzzing with the day's chaos. Her curls are matted, her face drawn, but her eyes burn with a quiet fury, the lawyer in her sharpening for battle. She's arraigned at 9 sharp, shoved into a packed courtroom where the air reeks of stale coffee and nervous sweat. Judge Amos Carver presides, perched high on his bench, a grizzled white man in his 60s with a mane of grey hair swept back, his steely gaze cutting through the room. His reputation precedes him, whispered in legal circles as a cop's best. Friend, a man who'd once bragged at a bar about keeping order in a city too black for his liking. A tiny Confederate flag pin, rumor says, hides under his robe's lapel, a silent nod to his roots. Nia stands at the defendant's table. Flanked by a bored public defender she hasn't had time to brief, her hands clasped to hide the trembling. Officers Dale Pruitt and Hank Grayson sit across the aisle, their uniforms pressed, smirking like they've already won. The gallery's full, spectators craning necks, some recognizing her from the viral mugshot now plastered online. Carver bangs his gavel, the sound a crack of thunder silencing the murmurs. The prosecutor, a wiry white man with a nasal voice, reads the charges. Felony assault on an officer, resisting arrest, both stemming from that highway stop 3 days ago. Nia's chest tightens, her breath shallow, knowing every word's a lie. Pruitt takes the stand first, his lanky frame slouched, moustache twitching as he spins a tale of Nia lunging at him, fists swinging, a wild woman he had to subdue. Grayson follows, his ruddy face flushed, echoing the story, claiming she kicked him in the shin, cursed them out, a threat to their safety. Their lies sync perfectly, rehearsed, seamless, delivered with the confidence of men who've never been doubted. Nia's jaw clenches, her nails digging into her palms, but she stays silent, her public defender scribbling notes too slow to matter. Carver nods along, his lips a thin line, his eyes flicking to Nia with something like disdain. She's mid-thought, plotting how to counter, when the courtroom doors burst open, a gust of humid air sweeping in. Malik Turner strides through, her DOJ colleague, a tall black man in a charcoal suit, his bald head gleaming under the fluorescent lights, his presence a jolt of electricity. He's 38, sharp as a blade, her friend since law school, and he's moving fast, a thick file under his arm. "Your Honor," Malik booms, voice cutting through the prosecutor's drone. "I'm here for Nia Coleman. I've got bail. Ready." Carver's eyebrows shoot up, irritation flashing, but he waves a hand. "Approach," he grumbles, leaning forward. Malik strides to the bench, whispering fiercely, dropping $10,000 in cash from a DOJ emergency fund. his eyes locked on Carver's. Nia's heart leaps, a flicker of hope igniting. The public defender steps aside as Malik takes over, pleading not guilty on her behalf, his tone firm, unyielding. "These charges are baseless, Your Honor. We'll prove it," he says, glancing at Nia with a nod that says, "I've got you." Carver smirks, a crooked twist of his mouth, and sets a trial date 2 weeks out, August 3rd. "Bail's granted," he mutters, gavel slamming, the sound a dull thud in Nia's ears. She's uncuffed, the jumpsuit swapped for her dusty blazer, and skirt from the precinct's locker, and she walks out beside Malik, the courthouse steps slick with morning drizzle. Her lungs fill with free air, her shoulders easing, thinking she's gained ground, a foothold to fight back. Malik's car, a silver Lexus, waits curbside, and she slides in, the leather cool against her legs. "Thanks," she says, voice hoarse, and he nods, eyes on the road. "We'll bury them," he promises, and she believes him, her mind already mapping next steps. Internal affairs, DOJ pressure, maybe a countersuit. She's a lawyer, damn it, not a victim, and Malik's her ace. They're halfway to her apartment, weaving through Peachtree Street's traffic, when her phone buzzes, a flood of notifications lighting up the screen. She unlocks it, and her breath catches, a sharp hiss escaping her lips. Her mugshot's gone viral, tweeted by a local news account with the caption, "Cop-hating thug arrested in Georgia." Comments pile up, hundreds in minutes. Typical. Lock her up. She deserves worse. Her stomach churns, bile rising as she scrolls. The photo grainy but unmistakable, her eyes wide, curls wild, the orange jumpsuit glaring. Malik glances over, his jaw tightening. "Union's work," he mutters, knuckles whitening on the wheel. They leaked it fast. Nia's fingers hover over the screen, her mind racing. She'd walked out of court thinking she'd dodged the bullet. That Malik's pull and her not guilty plea bought her time to strike back. But this is a gut punch, a smear campaign exploding before she can blink. The cops' union, a brotherhood of blue with deep pockets and deeper grudges, has turned her into a public enemy, her face a target for every bigot with a keyboard. She stares out the window, Atlanta's skyline blurring past, the drizzle streaking the glass like tears she won't let fall. Her bail's a small win, a crack of light in the dark, but it's dwarfed by this digital lynching, orchestrated with precision to ruin her before trial. Pruitt and Grayson's smirks flash in her mind, their lies now amplified by a mob she can't silence. She'd thought she'd face them in court, not on every phone in the city, her name trending for all the wrong reasons. Malik's voice cuts. Through her haze, "We'll counter it. Get ahead of the narrative." She nods, forcing a breath, her resolve steeling despite the weight pressing her chest. She's got 2 weeks to prep, to dig, to turn this around, and Malik's by her side. She clings to that, tells herself it's enough that she's still in the game. But as they pull into her garage, the viral post's numbers tick higher, 50,000 views, then 60, a wildfire she can't outrun. The courthouse felt like a battlefield she could navigate, but this is a war on a scale she didn't see coming, a public execution of her reputation before she can even draw her weapon. She steps out, legs shaky, the mugshot burned into her brain, and wonders how deep the cops' reach goes, how much worse they'll make it before she can fight back. She'd underestimated their venom, thought their racism was a blunt club, not a sharpened blade. Now, every stranger's glance feels like a judgment, every beep of her phone a fresh wound, and the trial's still 14 days away, a lifetime in this storm. Nia Coleman steps out of Malik Turner's silver Lexus on July 20th, 2025. The midday sun blazing down on Atlanta's Peachtree Street, the air thick with 95-degree heat and exhaust fumes. Her blazer's streaked with dust from the precinct, her skirt wrinkled, but she straightens her spine, forcing her legs to carry her toward the Department of Justice's glass tower, 15 stories of steel and shimmer looming over the city. Her phone buzzes relentlessly in her pocket, the viral mugshot, cop-hating thug, racking up 70,000 views now, each notification a needle in her gut. She'd walked out of court an hour ago, bail secured, thinking she'd bought time to fight, but the online firestorm's already charring her name. She swipes it silent, her reflection in the building's mirrored doors a ghost of the poised attorney she was 3 days ago, her deep brown eyes hollow, curls limp from precinct sweat. Inside, the lobby's cool marble soothes her bare feet, still raw from the night in lockup, and she badges through security, nodding at the guard who stares too long, his brow furrowed like he's seen her face somewhere ugly. She takes the elevator to the 10th floor, her stomach twisting as it climbs, the soft ding a countdown to judgment. Her office awaits, a corner suite with a view of the skyline, her law degree from Emory framed on the wall, a testament to years of clawing up from nothing. She's 34, a U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Georgia, a black woman who's prosecuted corruption cases with surgical precision, but today she feels like a defendant again. At 11 sharp, her boss, Deputy Attorney General Lorraine Hayes, summons her via a curt email. "My office now." Nia smooths her blazer, strides down the hall, her heels clicking on polished wood, and knocks. Lorraine's door swings open, revealing a stern white woman in her 50s, silver hair pulled tight, her navy pantsuit crisp as a blade. She sits behind a mahogany desk, a stack of papers in front of her, her hazel eyes cold as she gestures Nia inside. "Sit, Lorraine," says voice icy, and Nia perches on a leather chair, knees pressed together, hands clasped to hide the tremor. Lorraine leans forward, tapping a pen on the desk, the rhythm a slow accusation. "Your mugshots everywhere, Nia. Clients are calling, asking why one of our attorneys is trending as a cop hater. This is a PR disaster." Nia's throat tightens, but she meets Lorraine's gaze, her voice steady. "It's a lie, ma'am. I was framed. Officers Pruitt and Grayson falsified the report. I've got evidence coming." Lorraine's lips thin, her pen pausing mid-tap. "Evidence or not, the optics are killing us. You're suspended, effective immediately, pending an ethics review. Conduct unbecoming a federal officer." Nia's chest caves, a sharp breath escaping. "Suspended? I'm the victim here. They searched my car illegally, arrested me on fabricated charges. I'm fighting this." Lorraine's eyes narrow, unyielding. "Fight it on your own time. If you're convicted, you're out, permanently." The words land like a sledgehammer, splintering Nia's grip on her world. She stands, legs wobbly, and storms out, the door clicking shut behind her with a finality that echoes in her skull. She's back in her office in seconds, slamming the door, the skyline blurring through a sheen of unshed tears. Suspension. Her career, her lifeline, dangling by a thread, because 2 racist cops spun a tale no one's questioning yet. She grabs her laptop, yanks open a drawer for a legal pad and starts digging, her fury a fuel. She logs into a DOJ database, fingers flying, pulling records on Pruitt and Grayson. 3 prior brutality complaints surface, all against black drivers, all dismissed for insufficient evidence or witness unavailability. One man claimed Pruitt broke his arm during a stop. Another said Grayson choked him unconscious. Her pulse quickens, a grim satisfaction blooming. This is ammo, proof they're not saints with badges but predators with a pattern. She scribbles notes, cross-referencing dates, precinct logs, her mind a whirlwind of strategy. She's got Malik. The complaint to Internal Affairs, now this. A case building brick by brick. She leans back, exhaling, thinking she's clawed back control, that she'll bury them with their own dirt. The mugshot's a wound, the suspension a blow, but she's still standing, still armed. She shuts her laptop, grabs her bag, and heads. Home, the tower's glass doors hissing shut behind her. The drive's a haze, Atlanta's traffic a snarl of horns and heat, her sedan weaving past MARTA buses and jaywalkers. She pulls into her garage at 3. The mugshots count now 90,000. Comments a cesspool of hate she won't read. She climbs the stairs, unlocks her apartment, and freezes, her key still in the lock. The door's ajar, the frame splintered, a jagged scar where the deadbolt should have held. Her heart slams against her ribs as she steps inside, the lavender scent gone, replaced by the acrid tang of spray paint. "Snitch" is carved into her door, the letters crude red paint dripping like blood across the wood. Her couch is slashed, stuffing spilling out, her TV shattered, glass crunching under her heels. She spins, scanning the wreckage, her breath hitching. Her files, the ones she'd salvaged from the highway, are gone. Her desk overturned, drawers gutted. She stumbles to her bedroom, finds her mattress ripped, clothes strewn, a photo of her late parents smashed on the floor. Panic claws her throat, but she forces it down, dialing 911, her voice shaking as she reports it. Someone broke in, vandalized everything. The operator's calm, promising a unit. But when the cop arrives, a stocky white man with a buzz cut, he barely glances at the mess. Probably kids, he says, notebook untouched, his tone flat, eyes sliding past her like she's invisible. No prints, no witnesses, unrelated vandalism. Nia's fists ball, her voice rising. Unrelated? They took my files, called me a snitch. This is retaliation. He shrugs, scribbling a report she knows will rot in a drawer, and leaves, his cruiser peeling out with a squeal. She sinks onto the ruined couch, glass digging into her palms, the weight of it all crashing down. She thought she was gaining ground, that Pruitt and Grayson's past would be her shield, her sword. Suspension was a setback, but this is a declaration of war. They're watching her, tracking her, striking when she's down. The mugshot wasn't enough. Now they've invaded her home, stolen her evidence, marked her as prey. She'd felt a surge of hope digging into their records, a sense she could flip the script, but this theft guts her case, leaves her naked against their lies. The cop's dismissal stings, another layer of the system turning its back, and she wonders how many of them are in on it, how far their reach stretches. She stares at the red snitch, the paint still wet, dripping onto her hardwood, and her resolve hardens, a steel rod in her spine. She'll rebuild, regroup, fight harder, but the vandalism's a neon sign. They know where she lives, what she's planning, and they're not stopping. Want to stand with Nia against this injustice? Drop a number 1 in the comments if you think her suspension's unfair, hit like to back her battle, and subscribe to see her next move. Should she trust the system she's served, or is it too rotten to save her now? What's waiting around the corner when they've already trashed her life? Night falls heavy on Atlanta, July 21st, 2025, the clock ticking past 11, as Nia Coleman sits amid the wreckage of her 7th-floor apartment, the red snitch dripping on her door like a fresh wound. Her couch is gutted, cushions slashed, her hardwood floors crunch with glass from a shattered TV. The vandalism reports filed, the cop long gone with his lazy "kids did it" excuse, and she's alone, knees drawn up, her blazer swapped for a faded Emery Law sweatshirt, the fabric soft against her bruised pride. Her phone's dead, battery drained from dodging the mugshot's fallout. Now at 120,000 views, a digital noose tightening. She'd spent the afternoon salvaging what she could. Her parents' photo reframed, its cracked glass, a jagged reminder of loss. Her stolen files a gaping hole in her defense. Suspension from the DOJ stings. But this violation, this theft, cuts deeper. A message from Pruitt and Grayson she can't ignore. She's mid-thought, scribbling notes on a legal pad about their brutality complaints, when the lights flicker, a faint buzz humming through the walls. Her head snaps up, pulse quickening, the room plunging into black as the power dies. She freezes, ears straining, the city's hum beyond her windows muted by thick glass. Then a crash explodes through the dark, her balcony door shattering, shards raining across the floor like hail on asphalt. Her heart slams against her ribs as she scrambles to her feet, bare soles crunching glass, the legal pad tumbling from her lap. Shadows move fast, 3 masked figures bursting in, ski masks black as pitch, bodies hulking in tactical vests. They're on her in seconds, boots pounding hardwood, one grabbing her arms, pinning them behind her back with a grip like iron. She twists, adrenaline surging, but another slams a fist into her gut, air whooshing from her lungs, doubling her over. "Stay in your place," he snarls, voice muffled but venomous, the words a racial barb slicing through the chaos. Pain blooms, sharp and hot, as a third figure looms, his fist crashing into her jaw, snapping her head back, blood flooding her, mouth coppery and warm. She stumbles, knees buckling, but fights, clawing at the arm holding her, nails raking skin through fabric. He grunts, loosening just enough for her to wrench free, lunging for the kitchen, her vision swimming. She grabs a knife from the counter, a 6-inch blade gleaming in the faint moonlight spilling through the broken balcony, and spins, slashing wildly. The blade catches a mask, tearing it half off, revealing a white face, a jagged scar above his. Brow, eyes wide with shock. "Bitch!" he roars, clutching his cheek, blood seeping between his fingers, and she recognizes him, a flicker of memory from precinct photos, an off-duty cop tied to Pruitt and Grayson. Her stomach lurches, confirmation they've sent their pack, but there's no time to process. The other two charge, one tackling her to the floor, the knife skittering away, clattering against the fridge. His weight crushes her, knees pinning. Her thighs, fists raining down, slamming her ribs, her chest, each blow a thunderclap of agony. "You don't learn," he spits, breath hot through the mask, slurs tumbling out. Uppity trash. And worse, words she's heard too often, now paired with violence she can't escape. She gasps, lungs burning, her arms flailing, nails scraping. His vest, useless against his bulk. The third joins, kicking her side, ribs cracking with a sickening snap, pain exploding white-hot, stealing her breath. She curls inward, protecting her face, her mind screaming through the haze, "Survive, survive." Headlights flash through the window, a neighbor's car pulling in below, and sirens wail faint in the distance, growing louder. The attackers freeze, the scarred one barking, "Go!" They bolt, boots thudding, vanishing through the balconies. Wreckage leaving her sprawled, blood pooling beneath her cheek, glass embedded in her palms. She drags herself up, coughing, ribs screaming, every move a knife in her side. Her phone's dead, but she staggers to a landline she keeps for emergencies, fingers trembling as she dials 911, voice ragged. "I've been attacked. Apartment. 704 Peachtree Towers. 3 men masked. Send help." The operator's calm, promising units. Ania slumps against the wall, blood dripping onto her sweatshirt, the room spinning. Cops arrive in 10 minutes, 2 white officers she doesn't recognize, their flashlights sweeping the chaos. She's on the floor clutching her side and they kneel, one radioing for medics, the other taking her statement through gritted teeth. "They knew me, called me names, took my files earlier today," she rasps, pain lacing every word. The taller one, a lean man with a buzz cut, nods, scribbling, but his partner, stocky with a red beard, cuts in. Sounds like a random break-in. No proof it's connected. Nia's eyes blaze, fury overriding agony. "Random, they targeted me. This is retaliation." He shrugs, echoing the vandalism cop's dismissal. "Unrelated. We'll file it, but don't expect much." Medics burst in, a black woman and a Latino man, their hands gentle as they check her, wrapping her ribs, staunching the jaw wound with gauze. "Cracked ribs, possible concussion," the woman says, voice soft, and they load her onto a stretcher, the stretcher's wheels squeaking as they roll her out. At Grady Memorial, 3 miles south, she's stitched up. 8 sutures on her jaw, her ribs taped, painkillers dulling the edge. Discharged at dawn, she limps to a cab, her sweatshirt stiff with dried blood, the hospital's antiseptic sting lingering in her nose. She files a police report from her phone in the cab, uploading blurry photos of the mess, thinking this attack, this brutality, will expose Pruitt and Grayson's crew, force the system to act. She'd survived, fought back, left a mark on one of them, a scar to match her own. Back at her apartment, now a crime scene, yellow tape flaps across the balcony, the air thick with dust and defeat. She sinks onto a kitchen stool, the only thing still standing, and calls Malik, voice hoarse. "They jumped me, beat me bloody. Cops won't link it." He's there in 20 minutes, face grim, helping her pack a bag to crash at his place. She thinks she's turned a corner, that this assault's too blatant to ignore, that internal affairs, the DOJ, someone will step in now. But hours later, her suspension's extended indefinitely. Lorraine's email citing ongoing instability, a punchline to the night's horror. She stares at the screen, Malik's hand on her shoulder, her body a map of bruises, her hope a flickering flame. The attack was a win, proof they're scared, she tells herself, clinging to the report. The photos, the blood on her floor. She'd thought she'd hit bottom with the vandalism, But this is a new abyss. Their fists a louder message than paint, their cover-up a wall she can't yet climb. She'd felt strong digging into their past, invincible for a moment, but now she's broken, hunted. Her career slipping through her battered fingers, and the siren's echo fades into a city that doesn't care. Dawn breaks over Atlanta on July 22nd, 2025. A pale orange glow seeping through the blinds of Malik Turner's spare bedroom, where Nia Coleman lies on a twin bed, her body a patchwork of bruises and bandages. Her jaw throbs under 8 stitches, her taped ribs ache with every shallow breath, the night's ambush replaying in her skull like a horror reel. She's 34, a U.S. attorney on indefinite suspension, her apartment a crime scene, her career a smoldering wreck after Pruitt and Grayson's cronies beat her senseless. She'd crashed here at Malik's, a modest brick house in Decatur, 10 miles east of downtown, its hardwood floors creaking under her bare feet as she'd stumbled in at sunrise, blood-crusted sweatshirt swapped for one of his old tees. Her phone charged now, buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me, I've got info on your cops, noon, Dixie Diner off I-85. Her pulse jumps, hope flickering through the pain. She shows Malik, his bald head gleaming as he frowns over coffee in the kitchen, the air thick with roasted beans. "Could be a trap," he warns, voice low, but Nia shakes her head, wincing as her ribs protest. "Or a break, I'm going." She's desperate. Her stolen files a ghost haunting her. The police report from the attack dismissed as unrelated. She showers, hot water stinging her cuts, and dresses in borrowed jeans and a hoodie, her battered frame moving slow but resolute. By 11:30 she's in Malik's Lexus, him behind the wheel cruising north on I-85, the highway a snarl of semis and heat haze, 97 degrees baking the asphalt. Dixie Diner squats off exit 94, a faded red shack with peeling paint, its neon open sign flickering. Nia steps out, gravel crunching under her sneakers, her hood up to shield her stitched jaw from prying eyes. Inside the air's greasy, smelling of burnt bacon and stale fries, the jukebox crooning Patsy Cline. She spots him in a corner booth, Officer Trey Walsh, a wiry white cop in civvies, a plaid shirt stretched over a lean frame, his buzzed hair damp with sweat, his eyes dart, nervous, a manila envelope clutched in his hands. She slides in across from him, Malik lingering at the counter, watching. "You're Coleman," Walsh mutters, voice shaky, and she nods, keeping her tone flat. "What have you got?" He leans in, breath sour with cigarettes. "Pruitt and Grayson bragged about framing you, said they'd teach you a lesson. I recorded it." He slides the envelope over, her fingers brushing its edge, heart thudding. She pulls out a USB drive, small and black, and plugs it into her phone with an adapter, earbuds in. Muffled voices crackle, Pruitt's drawl unmistakable. "That black chick thinks she's smart. We'll bury her." Grayson laughs. "Assault charge'll stick, no one cares." Nia's blood surges, a grim triumph washing over her, this audio a dagger to their lies. Walsh fidgets, wiping his brow. "I'm risking my neck. They're tight with the precinct. You use this, keep me out of it." She nods, pocketing the drive, thinking she's struck gold, a smoking gun to blow their case apart. She thanks him, stands, and signals Malik, her step lighter despite the pain. "Plan forming." Back at his place, she uploads the file, emailing it to a local reporter, Tanya Reid, a bulldog at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who's hounded police corruption before. By 6 that evening, Tanya's story drops online. Whistleblower. Audio exposes cops framing black woman. The recording looped on every news site, Pruitt's voice a viral bomb. Nia watches from Malik's couch, a glass of water trembling in her hand, the hit count soaring past 50,000 in an hour. Protests spark downtown, chants echoing off Peachtree's glass towers. "Justice for Nia," trending on X. She thinks she's flipped the script, that this leak will force internal affairs, the DOJ, someone to act, that the beating's aftermath has finally turned her way. Her phone lights up, Malik grinning beside her. "You did it, Nia." She exhales, ribs aching, believing she's won a round. Her suspension may be lifting, the attack's truth breaking free. Then the TV blares. Channel 5 cutting to a live precinct presser, July 23rd, 10 a.m. The sun glaring off the brick facade. Officer Trey Walsh stands at a podium flanked by Pruitt and Grayson, their uniforms crisp, faces smug. Nia's stomach drops, ice flooding her veins as Walsh speaks, voice steady now. That audio's fake, edited by Nia Coleman to smear good officers. I never gave her anything. The reporter's feed cuts back, Tanya's voice shaken, retracting. The story, new evidence suggests tampering. Nia's glass slips, shattering on the hardwood, water pooling around her feet as Malik curses, loud and sharp. Her mind reels, the betrayal a gut punch worse than the fists last night. Walsh played her, a snake in plaid, feeding her poison she'd swallowed whole. She'd leaked it, handed them her own noose, and now the narrative flips, her victory. A lie painting her as the villain. Her phone buzzes. Judge Amos Carver's office, a curt voicemail. Emergency hearing tomorrow. Gag order requested. Evidence tampering alleged. She sinks into the couch, head in hands, the room spinning, her stitched jaw throbbing like a drumbeat of doom. Carver's voice echoes in her skull, his bias a gavel ready to crush her. She'd thought the audio was her lifeline, a public win to claw back her career, her name, her safety. Now it's a trap. Walsh's double-cross amplifying Pruitt and Grayson's reach, their retaliation a chess move she didn't see. The protests fizzle, X turning sour, liar and fraud replacing the chance, her mugshot resurfacing with fresh venom. Malik paces, muttering about countersuits, but Nia's silent, her hope gutted, the USB drive on the table a mocking relic. She'd walked into the diner desperate, walked out triumphant, only to crash harder than ever, her bruises a footnote to this new wound. The cops' crew didn't just beat her, they've outsmarted her, turned her weapon against her. And Carver's hearing looms, a noose tightening with every tick of the clock. She'd felt invincible for hours, the city's outrage her shield, but now she's exposed alone, the system she served spitting her out, and the next blow's already falling, sharper than fists, deadlier than lies. Think Nia's been betrayed beyond belief. Drop a number 1 in the comments if you're raging at Walsh's backstab, hit like to stand with her against this setup, and subscribe to catch her fight back. Was she too quick to trust? Or is the precinct's corruption deeper than anyone guessed? What's Carver planning to bury her with next? Morning dawns muggy on July 24th, 2025. Atlanta's skyline shrouded in a 98-degree haze as Nia Coleman steps into the Fulton County Courthouse, her body a roadmap of pain from the ambush 2 nights ago. Her jaws stitched tight, 8 black threads pulling at swollen flesh, her taped ribs grinding with every step, her Emery Law hoodie swapped for a charcoal suit that hides the bruises but not the limp. She's 34, a suspended U.S. attorney, her apartment trashed, her name smeared by a fake audio leak turned against her by Officer Trey Walsh's betrayal. She'd crashed at Malik Turner's place, sleepless, the gag order hearing looming. After Pruitt and Grayson's crew flipped her one hope into a noose, her lawyer Elise Grant meets her at the entrance, a wiry black woman in her 40s, silver braids coiled high, her navy blazer crisp, eyes sharp with a fire Nia clings to. Elise grips her shoulder, voice low. "We've got this. Stay steady." Nia nods, her throat dry. The courthouse's marble lobby echoing with footsteps, the air thick with tension and old varnish. They push through double doors into courtroom 3B, a cavernous space packed tight, the gallery buzzing, spectators spilling into the aisles, some clutching phones, others whispering her name from the viral mugshot, now at 200,000 views. Judge Amos Carver sweeps in, robe billowing, his grey hair a stern crown, his steely gaze slicing through the room, landing on Nia with a flicker of contempt. His bench looms high, wood polished to a gleam, his reputation as a cop's shield a silent threat. Officers Dale Pruitt and Hank Grayson sit at the prosecution table, uniforms starched, smirking like they've already won, their lanky and ruddy frames a stark contrast to the suited DA, a pinched white woman with a tight bun, her voice nasal as she shuffles papers. Nia takes her seat beside Elise, hands clasped, her breath shallow, the weight of Carver's bias pressing her chest. He bangs his gavel, a crack splitting the murmurs, and calls the case. State versus Coleman, assault. And resisting arrest? His tone flat, eyes barely leaving the cops. The DA rises, launching into the charges. Pruitt and Grayson's lies from the arraignment reheated, their wild woman tale unchanged. Nia's jaw clenches, her nails digging into her palms, the memory of their sneers on Highway 41 afire. In her gut. Elise stands, smooth and fierce, cutting in. Your Honor, we've got evidence that dismantles this fiction. She holds up a USB drive, not Walsh's fake, but a new find. A grainy cell phone clip from a bystander who'd filmed the stop, emailed to Nia's inbox overnight from an anonymous tip. Carver's eyebrows twitch, irritation flashing, but he nods. Proceed. Elise plays it on a courtroom screen, the footage shaky but clear, Nia's black sedan on the gravel shoulder, Pruitt and Grayson tearing through her car, her standing calm, hands raised, no fists, no kicks, just compliance. Under their barked orders. The audio's faint, their voices a low growl. Move it, girl, laced with venom, no sign of her lunging. The gallery shifts, a ripple of gasps. Pruitt's mustache twitching as he squirms, Grayson's ruddy face paling, their smirks faltering. Nia's heart leaps, a spark of triumph cutting through her pain, thinking this cracks their story wide open. Elise turns to Carver. This proves my client never assaulted anyone. The search was illegal, the charges fabricated. Carver leans forward, peering at the screen, his lips a thin line, then sits back, folding his arms. Inconclusive, he mutters, voice gravelly waving a hand. Lighting's poor angles off doesn't disprove the officer's account. Nia's stomach drops, her breath catching, Elise's jaw tightening beside her. The gallery murmurs. A low roar of disbelief, but Carver bangs his gavel, silencing it, his eyes sliding to the cops with a flicker of approval. Defense can call its witness, he says, leaning back, and Elise nods, signaling Nia. She stands, limping to the stand, her suit crisp despite the ache, swearing in with a hand that trembles only slightly. Elise guides her, voice calm. Miss Coleman, tell us about July 17th. Nia recounts the stop, her words precise, measured, the illegal search, the ticket, the lies, her compliance a shield they'd twisted into violence. Halfway through, mid-sentence about Grayson's water on her files, she pauses, adrenaline surging, and looks at Carver square. Your Honor, I'm an assistant U.S. attorney, Eastern District of Georgia. The room erupts, gasps cascading, a reporter's pen clattering to the floor, Pruitt's eyes widening, Grayson's mouth gaping like a fish yanked from water. Carver's face freezes, a mask of shock cracking his stern facade, his gavel hovering mid-air. Nia presses on, voice steady despite the pain shooting through her ribs. I knew my rights, knew they had no cause, but I complied to stay alive. They targeted me for being black, nothing more. The gallery's a live wire, whispers buzzing. Elise standing taller, the DA stammering. Objection, relevance. Carver blinks rapidly, regaining himself, and slams the gavel, the crack a gunshot. Order sustained. Stick to the incident, Miss Coleman. But the damage is done. The air shifting, power tilting, her status a bombshell they can't unhear. She finishes, stepping down, her limp pronounced, the jury's eyes tracking her, some nodding faintly. Carver adjourns for a week, August 1st, his voice clipped. We'll review this, revelation. Gag orders in place, no leaks. He glares at Nia, a hint of something softer, maybe fear, flickering in his steely gaze, then exits, robe, swishing. Nia exhales, Malik rushing from the back to grip her arm, his grin wide. You shook them, he whispers, and she nods, a fragile hope blooming, thinking her titles flipped the script, that Carver's rattled, the cops exposed. She limps out with Elise, the courthouse steps slick with humidity, the crowd parting. Some snapping photos, others shouting support. She's in Malik's car, pulling away, the city blurring past, when her phone buzzes, an alert from Tanya Reid. Hearing shocker, U.S. attorney fights back. She smiles, faint but real, believing she's turned the tide, that the video her status will unravel their lies. Then a boom splits the night, her sedan parked 2 blocks away. Erupting in flames, a Molotov cocktail's fiery bloom licking the seats, glass shattering onto Peachtree's pavement. She screams, Malik swerving, tires screeching as smoke billows black against the skyline. Her car a torch signaling war. Cops cordon it off, sirens wailing, but she knows Pruitt and Grayson's hands are behind it. Their smirks from the courtroom morphing into this, a retaliation she didn't see. Coming! Her heart pounds, ribs screaming, the victory snatched away in a blaze, the fire's heat a promise of worse to come. She'd stood tall, dropped her bombshell, thought she'd seized control, but this is their answer. A roaring inferno proving they'll burn her life to ash before they yield. Malik pulls over, her eyes locked on the flames. The crowd, gawking, her hope smoldering with the wreckage, and she realizes the trial's just begun, her revelation a spark they'll douse with blood if they can. Night clings to Atlanta on July 24th, 2025. The air heavy with smoke and 94-degree heat as Nia Coleman stares at her sedan's burning husk, flames licking the twisted metal 2 blocks from the Fulton County courthouse. Her jaw throbs under stitches, her taped ribs scream with every ragged breath, the trial's bombshell, her U.S. attorney reveal, still echoing in her ears, now drowned by this fiery retaliation. She's 34, suspended from the DOJ, her apartment trashed, her name a viral curse, and Pruitt and Grayson's latest strike has torched her car, a Molotov cocktail's wreckage smoldering on Peachtree Street. Malik Turner grips the wheel. Beside her, his Lexus idling, his bald head slick with sweat, voice tight. We need protection, Nia. This is war. She nods, her hoodie soaked with panic sweat. The crowd's shouts fading behind sirens as cops cordon off the blaze, their flashlights slicing the dark. She dials her DOJ supervisor, Lorraine Hayes, from Malik's phone, hers lost in the chaos. Her voice hoarse. Lorraine, it's Nia. They firebombed my car. I need security now. Lorraine's icy tone crackles through, hesitant but firm. I'll push it up the chain. Stay safe. By midnight, a DOJ agent, a stocky black man named Curtis Banks, arrives at Malik's Decatur house 10 miles east, his badge glinting, a Glock holstered at his hip. I'm your shadow till this blows over, he says, voice gravelly, and Nia exhales, thinking she's shielded, that the feds will curb the cops' rampage. She crashes on Malik's couch, Curtis posted at the door, her bruised body sinking into cushions, the trial's adjourned week a lifeline she clings to. Morning breaks July 25th, sunlight streaming through blinds, and she wakes to her phone buzzing, recharged now, a text from Elise Grant. Pruitt and Grayson filed a defamation suit. Emergency hearing tomorrow. Her stomach lurches, a cold sweat prickling her skin as she reads the details. The cops claiming her lies in court ruined their reputations, demanding $50,000. Their lawyer a precinct crony pushing Judge Carver to fast-track it. She shows Malik, his jaw tightening, and Curtis nods, unfazed. They're desperate, he says, but Nia's not so sure, the fire's heat still searing her memory. By noon, Carver's ruling hits her inbox, a court order freezing her bank accounts as preemptive damages, her savings, $32,000, locked, her credit cards dead. She stares at the screen, breath shallow, her financial lifeline severed in a keystroke, Carver's bias a blade she can't dodge. She calls Elise, voice shaking. They've got my money. How do I fight this? Elise's calm cuts through. We'll counter it. Hang on. Nia paces Malik's living room, hardwood creaking, her ribs protesting, thinking Curtis's presence keeps her safe, that she'll outlast this money grab. Then Curtis's phone rings, a clipped call, and he steps outside, returning minutes later, face blank. Got reassigned. Urgent case downtown. You're on your own. He's gone before she can blink, tires squealing, leaving her exposed, the DOJ's shield yanked away. Malik curses, loud and raw. They bribed him off, and Nia's knees buckle, sinking onto the couch, her mind racing. She's got no car, no cash, no guard. Pruitt and Grayson's reach deeper than she feared. She rallies, grabbing Malik's laptop, her lawyer's brain kicking in, and digs with him, scouring precinct leaks on X, dark web forums. Anything. After hours, they strike gold, a whistleblower post from Blue Truth, detailing a secret precinct fund, a slush pile of union dues and payoffs bankrolling cop defenses, lawsuits, hits. It's tied to Pruitt and Grayson, their names coded but clear, a war chest fueling this nightmare. Nia's pulse surges, a grim hope flaring, thinking, this exposes their machine, that she'll leverage it with Elise, force the DOJ to act. She emails it to Elise, Malik grinning beside her. This is it, Nia, they're cooked. She nods, ribs aching, believing she's clawed back ground. That Curtis's exit was a hiccup, the fund her ace. She's mid-breath, plotting next steps, when boots thunder outside, a dozen black-clad SWAT officers smashing through Malik's door, splintering wood, rifles raised. Nia Coleman! Hands up! A voice bellows, and she freezes, Malik lunging to her side, her heart slamming against her cracked ribs. They yank her up, cuffs snapping tight, cutting into her wrists, her stitches straining as they drag her out. Drug suspect, the lead cop snaps, a white man with a buzz cut, his eyes cold, flashing a warrant she knows is fake. Malik shouts, "This is bullshit," but they shove him back, rifles jabbing, and haul Nia to a van. The street dark, neighbors peering from windows. The precinct's 10 miles west, a squat brick fortress, and they toss her into an interrogation room. Concrete. Walls sweating, a single bulb buzzing overhead. She's uncuffed, shoved into a chair, her hoodie torn, blood seeping from her jaw where a stitch popped. The lead cop looms, smirking. Found coke in your car. Weird, since it burned, huh? She glares, voice steady despite the pain. Planted. You've got nothing. He laughs, a harsh bark, and leaves, the door slamming, locking her in. She's alone, the fund's discovery, a fleeting high, crushed by this raid, her wrists raw, her body screaming, the precinct's retaliation a sledgehammer to her hope. She'd thought Curtis was her buffer, the fund her weapon, that she'd turned the trial's chaos into leverage. Now she's caged again. No guard, no cash, a drug frame-up piling onto assault and resisting, Pruitt and Grayson's crew striking. From shadows she can't pierce. The room's air chokes her, thick with mildew, her mind spinning, Malik's shouts echoing in her skull. The SWAT raid a blitz she didn't see coming. She'd felt a surge exposing their money, a sense she'd cracked their armor, but this is a counterpunch shredding her defenses, leaving her naked against their lies. She bangs the table, pain jolting her ribs, fury blazing, vowing to fight. But the cuff's ghost lingers on her skin, the precinct's walls closing in, and she wonders how much more they'll take before she breaks. Think Nia's being crushed by a system gone rogue? Drop a #1 in the comments if you're furious at this precinct's dirty tricks, hit like to rally behind her, and subscribe to see her next stand. Can she trust anyone when even the DOJ bails? What's their next play to silence her for good? Darkness presses against the precinct's interrogation room on July 25, 2025. The single bulb overhead buzzing as Nia Coleman sits handcuffed to a metal chair, her wrists raw, a popped stitch on her jaw oozing blood down her neck. Her hoodie's torn, her taped ribs grinding with every breath. The SWAT raid's fake drug charge, a fresh wound on top of assault, resisting, and a defamation suit that's frozen her accounts. She's 34, a suspended U.S. attorney, her car torched, her apartment trashed, and Pruitt and Grayson's latest trap has her caged 10 miles west of Malik's Decatur safehouse, the precinct's concrete walls sweating mildew. The lead cop's gone, his smirk lingering. Coke in your car, a lie she can't disprove yet. The raid a blitz that snatched her from exposing their secret fund. She bangs the table, pain jolting her cracked ribs, fury a live wire in her veins vowing to fight, but the room's silence mocks her, her hope a flicker smothered by this new frame-up. Hours crawl by, the clock ticking past midnight, her body screaming. When the door bangs open, Malik Turner storming in, his charcoal suit rumpled, bald head gleaming under the bulb, a precinct lawyer trailing, flustered. They've got no evidence, Malik snaps, voice cutting through. Release her now. The lawyer, a paunchy white man with a comb-over, fumbles papers muttering about procedure, but Malik's glare forces his hand. Cuffs snap off, her wrists bruised purple, and she staggers up, leaning on Malik as they shove past. The precinct's halls a blur of glaring cops and flickering lights. Outside, Atlanta's night air hits her, humid and thick. The precinct's brick facade looming as Malik hustles her to his Lexus, tires squealing as they peel out. 10 miles east to his house. She's free. But the drug lies out. A news van, already parked near the precinct, Channel 5's logo glaring. By dawn, July 26th, the story breaks. U.S. attorney busted in drug raid. Her mugshot, old and new, splashing screens, the anchor's voice smug, spinning her as a kingpin. Coke found in her burned car's ashes, a tale so wild it sticks. She's on Malik's couch, ice on her jaw, watching in horror as the hit count soars. 300,000 views by noon, comments a sewer of hate. Dirty lawyer? Jail her? Slurs she won't read piling like bricks on her chest. Her stomach churns, bile rising. The precinct's hate campaign a flood she can't dam. Protesters swarm Malik Street by afternoon, a mob of 50, then 100, egged on by cop-planted posts on X, Nia Coleman, cop killer, drug queen. Their signs scrawled with venom, go back to the hood. Bottles fly, shattering on the pavement, chants roaring, lock her up, laced with racial filth, their faces white, red with rage, a lynch mob in daylight. Nia barricades the door, heart slamming, Malik boarding windows, his hammer's thuds. A desperate beat as glass shatters, a brick crashing through, skidding across hardwood. She grabs a kitchen knife, 6 inches of steel, her hands trembling. Not for attack, but survival. The mob's howls, a noose tightening. Malik, get me out, she rasps, voice raw. And he nods, dialing DOJ contacts, his phone slipping from sweaty palms. He reaches Elise Grant, her lawyer, who's 10 miles away, and she speeds over, her sedan weaving through back roads to dodge the chaos. By dusk, Elise bursts in, silver braids swinging, navy blazer creased, her eyes fierce. We're moving you, she says, and they slip out the back. The mob's roar fading as Malik drives, Nia in the back seat, knife still clutched, her breath shallow, ribs screaming. They hit a safe house, a dingy motel off I-20, 15 miles. West, its neon vacancy sign flickering, the room a cave of peeling paint and moth-eaten curtains. Nia collapses on a lumpy bed, safe for now, her body a wreck, thinking she's dodged the worst, that distance will cool the fire. Malik and Elise huddle, laptops open, uploading the precinct fund docs to X from Blue Truth, the whistleblower. Handle, a desperate counterstrike. By midnight, the post spreads, 50,000 retweets, precinct slush fund exposed, Pruitt and Grayson's names coded but glaring, sparking DOJ scrutiny. Lorraine Hayes texting Malik, we're looking into it. Nia exhales, a fragile hope blooming. The mob's rage a memory. The funds leak her lifeline. She thinks the tide's turning. That public doubt will slow the cop's machine. Her knife set aside, her breathing easing. Then her phone buzzes. A court alert. Judge Amos Carver's voice a ghost in her skull. Emergency hearing, July 27th, contempt charge, inciting chaos. Her heart sinks, ice flooding her veins, the safe house's walls closing in as Malik reads it aloud. His voice grim. He's pinning the protests on you, no bail. She's hauled back downtown at dawn, Elise fighting beside her. But Carver's gavel slams, his grey hair a stern halo, his steely gaze unyielding. Miss Coleman, your actions sparked this unrest. Contempt of court. Jail. Effective now. She's cuffed again, wrists bleeding. Dragged to a cell at Fulton County Jail, 5 miles south. A roach-infested pit, concrete slick with grime, the door clanging shut. She sinks onto a cot, mattress thin as paper, the mob's chants echoing. In her skull, the funds leak, a fleeting wind crushed by this cage. She'd thought the safe house was her shield, the DOJ's probe her sword, that she'd turned the raid's lie into leverage. Now she's buried, no bail, her freedom snatched by Carver's wrath, the public savagery, a whip Pruitt and Grayson, wheeled from afar. The cell's air chokes her, thick with sweat and despair, roaches skittering over her sneakers, her ribs a fire she can't douse. She'd felt a surge leaking the fund, a sense she'd flipped the board. But this is a checkmate she didn't see. The mob's bottles, Carver's gavel, a double blow stripping her bare. She bangs the bars, pain jolting her, fury blazing, vowing to claw out. But the precinct's reach is a vice, the public's hate a flood, and she's drowning, Her DOJ title a fading echo, her fight a whisper in the dark. Malik's out there. Elise too, but she's alone. The cot creaking under her weight. The roaches her only company, and she wonders how much more they'll pile on before she breaks. How deep this pit goes before she climbs. Daylight barely seeps into Fulton County Jail on July 27, 2025. The cell block a grey tomb 5 miles south of Atlanta's heart, where Nia Coleman sits on a thin cot, her wrists bruised from cuffs, her jaw stitched tight, blood crusted on her torn hoodie. Her taped ribs grind with every breath, the contempt charge from Judge Amos Carver locking her here without bail. The mob's savage turn and the precinct's drug lie piling on her assault and resisting rap. She's 34, a suspended U.S. attorney, her carash, her apartment gutted, her name a curse at 500,000 views, and this jail's a new hell, roaches skittering over concrete slick with grime. The air's thick, sour with sweat and bleach, the cot springs jabbing her spine, her sneakers sticky from the floor's filth. She'd leaked the precinct fund, thought the DOJ's probe would shield her, but Carver's gavel crushed that, her safe house a fleeting dream before this cage swallowed her. Guards start their rounds at dawn, 2 white men burly and sneering, Pruitt and Grayson's cronies by the glint in their eyes, their boots thudding like war drums. "Coleman," one barks, a squat man with a shaved head. "No breakfast. Boss says you don't eat." He spits near her cot, a wet splat glistening, and the other, a lanky giant with a scar over his lip, laughs. A low growl. "Too good for our food, huh?" They yank her tray, grit splattering the wall, and she clenches her fists, nails digging into palms, hunger gnawing her gut. But she stays silent, her lawyer's brain plotting through the haze. Hours drag, the cell block a chorus of yells and clangs, her body a wreck when a guard shoves a tin cup of water through the bars. Half spilled, tepid and brown. She sips, throat burning, the taste metallic, and they watch, grinning. "That's all you get, princess." Lunch skips her too, their taunts sharper. Black trash don't need much, racial venom dripping. A lash she's felt since Highway 41. By dusk, her stomach's a knot, ribs screaming, and an inmate shuffles past, a wiry white woman with sunken eyes, a shank glinting in her hand, a crude blade of sharpened steel. She lunges through the bars, no warning, slicing Nia's thigh, a 4-inch gash splitting flesh, blood pooling hot and fast on the cot. Nia gasps, pain exploding, and kicks, her sneaker slamming the woman's wrist, the shank clattering free. The guards laugh, a harsh roar, "Guess she don't like you," and stroll off, leaving her bleeding, the inmate vanishing into the block's shadows. Nia rips her hoodie's sleeve, fabric tearing with a ragged snap, and ties it tight, her hands shaking, blood soaking through, the cot a red mess. She grits her teeth, sweat beading, and finds a smuggled needle and thread from a cellmate's stash. A silent black woman 2 doors down who'd nodded once, a flicker of solidarity. Nia stitches herself, 6 clumsy loops, the needle-biting skin, pain a white-hot scream she swallows, her breath shallow, ribs cracking under the strain. Blood clots, the gash a jagged scar to be, and she slumps back, dizzy, the roaches bolder, now skittering over her sneakers, her thigh throbbing like a drumbeat of doom. She's alone, no food, no water worth drinking, guards a wall of hate, the shank a message from Pruitt and Grayson's reach, their crew inside these walls as vicious as out. Days blur, 3 in this pit, July 29th, dawning, her body. Weak stitches holding, when Malik Turner's voice cuts through, a lifeline from the hall. "Nia, we've got a writ." He's there, bald head gleaming, suit crisp with Elise Grant, her lawyer. Silver braids swinging, a federal judge's order in hand. A black woman from the Northern District, Judge Tanya Ellis, who'd seen the fund docs on X. "Release her," Elise snaps, shoving the paper at the squat guard, his sneer fading, the lanky one cursing under his breath. Cuffs snap off. Her wrists raw meat, and they haul her up. Malik's arm around her, Elise flanking, the cell block a blur as they march out. She limps, thigh burning, ribs afire, but free. The jail's iron gate clanging shut behind her, Atlanta's air humid and sweet, a gulp of life after the tomb. Carver's rattled, she hears, the DOJ's civil rights probe kicking in. Lorraine Hayes texting Malik, "We're on it." The funds leak a crack they can't seal. She's in Malik's Lexus, 10 miles east to his place, a bandage on her. Thigh ice on her jaw, thinking she's won. That 3 days of hell bought her freedom, the probe her sword. She'd stitched herself, survived their starvation, their blade. Her resolve steel despite the scars. Then her phone buzzes, a news alert. Coleman's safe house torched, the motel off I-20, a pile of ash, her case files inside, the ones Elise had stashed, burned to nothing, a note in the rubble, "You're next," scrawled in black marker. Her breath catches, a sharp hiss, Malik swerving, tires squealing, her heart slamming against her cracked ribs. The jail was a cage, but this is a death knell. Pruitt and Grayson's crew striking again, her evidence gutted, her victory, a pile of soot. She'd thought release was triumph, the probe her shield, that she'd clawed out of the pit with proof to bury them. Now she's naked, files gone, the motel's flames a roar in her skull, the note a promise of blood she can't dodge. Malik pulls over, her eyes locked on the alert's photo. Charred beams and smoke, the crowd gawking, her hope crumbling with the wreckage. She'd felt invincible, limping out, the DOJ's weight her armor. But this arson's a counterpunch. Stripping her bare, the precincts reach a noose tightening, and she wonders how much more they'll burn before she's ash too. Elise grips her hand, voice fierce. "We'll rebuild." But Nia's silent, the roach's skitter still on. Her skin, the shanks sting a ghost, her fight a flicker in a storm she can't outrun. Morning breaks humid and tense over Atlanta on August 1st, 2025. The Fulton County Courthouse a concrete monolith under a 99-degree sun as Nia Coleman limps up its steps, her thigh bandaged, jaw stitched, ribs taped, her charcoal suit wrinkled but defiant. She's 34, a suspended U.S. attorney, her car torched, her safe house ash, her files burned, 3 days in jail, a fresh scar, and today's the trial's resumption, her last stand against Pruitt. And Grayson's lies. Elise Grant strides beside her, silver braids coiled, navy blazer sharp, her eyes afire. Nia leans on, Malik Turner flanking, his bald head gleaming, suit crisp despite sleepless nights. Her body's a wreck, the shanks gash, throbbing, her stomach hollow from jail starvation, but her resolve steel, the DOJ probe into the precinct fund. Her flickering hope after the arson gutted her evidence. The courtroom 3B is a pressure cooker, gallery packed to bursting, air thick with sweat and anticipation. Spectators spilling into aisles, phones silenced by Carver's prior gag order. Judge Amos Carver sweeps in, robe flowing, grey hair a stern crown, his steely gaze cutting through, landing on Nia with a mix of irritation and unease. Her U.S. attorney reveals still a thorn in his side. Officers Dale Pruitt and Hank Grayson sit at the prosecution table, uniforms pressed, smirks faint but smug, their lanky and ruddy frames a wall of confidence. The DA, a pinched white woman with a tight bun, shuffling papers beside them. Nia takes her seat, hands clasped, breath shallow, the weight of Carver's bias a stone on her chest. He bangs his gavel, a crack splitting the silence, and resumes the trial. State ver Coleman, his voice gravelly, eyes flicking to the cops, with a nod. The DA rehashes their tale. Pruitt and Grayson's wild woman lie from the highway stop, assault and resisting reheated, the drug frame-up and contempt sidelined for now. Nia's jaw clenches, nails digging into palms, the memory of their sneers of fire she stokes. Elise rises, smooth and fierce. "Your Honor, we've got a witness to end this charade." Carver's eyebrows twitch, but he nods. "Call her." Elise summons LaToya Sims, a precinct clerk, a stout black woman in her 50s, graying curls framing a nervous face, her beige skirt suit trembling as she takes the stand. LaToya swears in, voice quaking, and Elise guides her. "Tell us about the Quota Club." LaToya swallows, eyes darting to Pruitt and Grayson, then speaks. "They run a group, call it the Quota Club. Target black drivers, rack up stops, trump up charges. Pruitt bragged about Coleman, said she'd learn her place." The gallery erupts, gasps cascading, Pruitt's mustache twitching, Grayson's ruddy face paling, their smirks vanishing. Nia's heart leaps, a surge of triumph cutting through. Her pain. LaToya's words a sledgehammer to their lies. Carver bangs his gavel, face reddening. Order! Relevance? Elise turns, voice sharp. It proves a pattern, Your Honor. This isn't one stop, it's systemic. Carver leans forward, lips thinning. I'll allow it, but keep it tight. He glares at LaToya, trying to silence her with his stare, but she presses on. They've got a fund, too, payoffs to cover it. I saw the books. The room buzzes. A live wire. And Nia catches Malik's nod from the back, the blue truth leak now flesh and blood. Elise steps back. No further questions, and the DA stammers. Objection, hearsay. But Carver waves it off, eyes narrowing, a flicker of doubt cracking his stern facade. Nia stands unbidden, her limp, pronounced voice cutting through. Your Honor, I demand your recusal. You favored these officers, ignored evidence, jailed me for contempt when they torched my life. You're biased, and I'll prove it. Under federal law. She recites Title 28, Section 455, her lawyer's brain ablaid. A judge shall disqualify himself where his impartiality might reasonably be questioned. The gallery roars, a reporter's notebook clattering, Pruitt's eyes widening, Grayson's mouth gaping, the DA shouting, Outrageous! Carver's face freezes, then contorts, gavel slamming. Silence! I'll not be lectured! But Nia presses. You've protected them, ignored their fund, their attacks. Step down. The room's electric, LaToya's testimony streaming live on X despite the gag, a bystander's phone catching it all, Quota Club exposed trending, protests erupting outside, chants shaking the windows. Justice now. Carver's voice rises. I deny recusal. This court's mine. But his hands tremble, sweat beading on his brow, the pressure cracking his armor. Elise leaps in. Then we move forward and rests the defense. The jury's eyes locked on Nia, some nodding, others stunned. The DA scrambles, Pruitt and Grayson squirming, their lies fraying under LaToya's truth. The fund a noose they can't slip. Nia sits, breath ragged, thinking she's turned it, that Carver's rattled, the cops cornered, the probe her ace. Then boots thunder, DOJ agents bursting in, 6 black and brown faces in navy jackets, badges flashing, storming the prosecution table mid-hearing. Dale Pruitt, Hank Grayson, you're under arrest for perjury, falsifying reports, the lead agent barks, a tall woman with dreadlocks, cuffs snapping on, Pruitt's lanky arms flailing, Grayson's ruddy face twisting as they're hauled up. The gallery explodes, screams and cheers, Carver banging his gavel. Order, what is this? The agent turns, voice firm. Federal warrant, Your Honor, evidence from the Civil Rights Division. Nia's heart soars, a wild rush, Malik rushing. To her side, Elise gripping her hand. The cops dragged out, their smirks ash, the funds leak, and LaToya's words a hammer the DOJ wields. She thinks it's over. The trial hers, justice breaking through, Carver's bias irrelevant now, her nightmare ending in this chaos. Then Carver stands, robe slipping, his face a mask of rage clutching his chest, a choked gasp escaping as he staggers, eyes rolling back, collapsing over the bench, a heavy thud echoing, his grey hair spilling across wood. The room freezes, a collective gasp, medics rushing in, gavel rolling to the floor. The gallery a riot of shouts and shoves, Pruitt and Grayson's arrest swallowed by this implosion. Nia stares, limp forgotten, ribs silent. Her victory a heartbeat from grasp, now dangling in Carver's death. The courtroom a madhouse, agents yelling, spectators surging, her fight teetering on a cliff she didn't see. She dropped her bombshell, LaToya's truth her sword. The arrest's her crown, but this is a curveball shredding the script. Her freedom a question mark in the chaos. Pruitt and Grayson gone, but Carver's collapse a wild card. And she wonders if justice dies with him, or if this is the break she needs. Chaos reigns in courtroom 3B on August 1st, 2025. The air thick with sweat and panic as Judge Amos Carver's body is wheeled out, his grey hair limp, his steely gaze extinguished by a heart attack mid-trial, the gavel silent. On the floor, Nia Coleman stands frozen, her stitched jaw slack, taped ribs aching, her charcoal suit rumpled, the gallery a swirl of shouts and shoves, medics barking orders, DOJ agents hauling Pruitt and Grayson away in cuffs. Their perjury, arrest a fleeting triumph now buried in this madness. She's 34, a suspended U.S. attorney, her life torched, car home files by the precinct's war, and LaToya Sims' Quota Club testimony had cracked the case, only for Carver's collapse to flip it into shadow. Malik Turner grips, her arm, bald head gleaming, voice lost in the roar. Elise Grant beside her, silver braids swaying, her navy blazer creased, both staring as the dust settles, the DA fleeing, the jury dismissed in the uproar. By noon, August 2nd, charges dissolve, the state dropping assault, resisting, contempt and drugs. Pruitt and Grayson's lies shredded by the DOJ probe, but the precinct's union strikes back, a presser at 3 pinning Carver's death. On Nia, her stress killed him. Their lawyer snarls, a white man with a slick tie sparking a citywide manhunt by rogue cops, X exploding, killer Coleman trending at 1 million views. Nia flees with Malik, her thigh bandage soaked, ribs grinding, no time for relief. The courthouse steps a gauntlet of flashing cameras she dodges, her sedan's ash a memory, her accounts still frozen. They hit Savannah by dusk, 200 miles. Southeast, a dingy motel off I-95, its neon no vacancy flickering, the room a cave of mold and sagging beds. She dyes her curls black with a kit from a gas station, hands shaking, scissors snipping them short. Her DOJ ID burned in a trash can, ashes curling in the humid night, her reflection in a cracked mirror a stranger's face, hollow and hunted. Malik paces, phone buzzing. Probe's indicting half the precinct, he says, voice grim, but Nia's silent, her career a corpse, the unions lie a bounty on her head, rogue badges scouring Georgia's backroads for blood. She slips onto a Greyhound at midnight, August 3rd, a duffel slung over her shoulder. Malik's goodbye a nod through tears, the bus rumbling north, her eyes locked on the window, pines blurring past, vowing revenge. A whisper in her throat. I'll come back. The system she swore to fix devoured her, spat her out. Her victory hollow, Pruitt and Grayson caged but their machine roaring, her exoneration a curse branding her fugitive, an outlaw attorney against a racist empire stretching beyond Atlanta's grip. She'd stood tall, dropped bombshells, thought justice would crown her, but Carver's death flipped it, the union's wrath a storm she can't outrun, her fight a spark in a world that wants her ash. Nia Coleman's harrowing journey reveals profound truths about resilience, systemic injustice, and the cost of standing up. First, it shows that courage can shine even when the odds are stacked against you. Nia, a black U.S. attorney, faced relentless racial profiling, violence and betrayal, yet her determination never wavered, teaching us that inner strength can defy oppression's weight. Second, the story exposes the deep rot within institutions meant to protect. Cops like Pruitt and Grayson wielded power to frame her, while Judge Carver's bias shielded them, proving that justice isn't blind when prejudice steers the gavel. Third, it underscores the peril of misplaced trust. Officer Walsh's double cross flipped Nia's hope into a trap, a reminder to question allies in a fight this brutal. Fourth, the public's savage turn highlights how easily lies can sway. Masses fueled by a precinct smear campaign, urging us to seek truth beyond headlines. Finally, Nia's transformation into an outlaw after Carver's death and the union's manhunt reveals a bitter irony. Victory can birth exile when systems reject reform. Her story isn't just a tale of survival, it's a call to confront racism head-on, to recognize its tentacles in law, media and mobs, and to fight even when the cost is everything. What can we do when the system fails its own? Drop a comment with your thoughts on Nia's fight. Hit like if her grit inspires you. Subscribe for more tales of justice, and share to spread her truth. Thank you for joining this journey. May it fuel your resolve for a fairer world.